Welcome to Audio Path, where we let you in on our experiences, insights, and real-life scenarios working in the music industry. I'm Trent, and I've been a studio owner and operator, a music venue owner and operator, and a musician.
And I'm John. I've been a mix engineer, mastering engineer, live sound technician.
And together, we've got 30 years of experience in the music industry.
Whether you're an artist, an engineer, or somebody who just really likes music, these stories are for you.
Come with us as we pull back the curtain of the music industry.
And let's take a walk down the audio path.
All right, here we are.
Here we are. Welcome back to Audio Path.
Welcome back. Episode 15.
Trent, we're on episode 15.
Look at that.
1-5.
Yeah.
And it's going great.
Yeah.
I'm having a blast. Are you?
I'm having a great time as well.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's been very good.
We have another addition. We add these little plates to the bottom of our microphones.
If anyone can see this right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Found these. So it was like, well,
Yeah.
why not?
I know. Fun stuff, man.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
That's right.
Love to see it.
Little mic plate custom.
Yeah. Well, okay. So 15. What are we talking about today, Trent?
Yeah. Today we've got a little bit more of a technical issue. Not an issue, technical episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an issue. Could be. We'll see. About monitoring. Live monitoring in the live sound world, mostly.
Yep.
And so this is going to fit primarily in John's wheelhouse. I also do live sound, but John is being thrown in a lot of different scenarios all the time, so he's going to have a lot of different takes on what it's like to be a monitoring engineer or technician, and then we can both kind of jump on the other side of what it's like to be, of course, a player and what you expect from your monitoring technician. And then I'll give a little bit of a take in my world as well. So I'm going to let you kick it off, John. Tell us about what you'd like to share with everyone about live monitoring.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have really, if I'm doing live audio, my preference is to be the monitoring engineer. Like, I want to be that guy. I do front of house. I do it a lot, but I really love being on monitors.
Yeah.
And there are a couple reasons for that, which I'm sure we're going to get into. But yeah, I just thought it would be kind of a fun episode to talk about them and talk about some best practices when it comes to monitoring, and talk about the different types of monitoring situations that you can run into, and kind of go from there, share a little bit of my experience, some things I've learned along the way that have helped me a lot. And that's what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
So let's just kind of take it back a little bit to this thing that we call monitor engineering,
Yes.
Stage monitoring. This did not always exist back in the day before I was alive, but I have heard many stories. Monitoring was not really a thing on a stage.
Yeah.
You just had the PA, and the PA was it. And you had a bunch of amps on your stage, and you just kind of made it work.
So how did the singers hear how they sing?
The singers had to be out in front of the PA a little bit.
Yeah.
And they just, did the thing. And then I forget, I should know this. I forget which band it was, but they had a guy who basically invented monitoring.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm just going to put like a speaker like on the stage in front of you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to like feed it as an auxiliary, and you can just hear whatever you want through it.
Yeah.
And at the time, people thought this was like crazy. And if you look into the history of monitoring, you can read all about this like I have. And I just think it's fascinating because I can't imagine doing a concert now without some form of monitoring.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just what you do now. But all that to say, that's a little bit of like kind of the history of how it started. Monitors have evolved quite a lot since that time, to where now we have speakers that are dedicated, floor wedges or whatever. They're designed for monitoring. Of course, there's in-ear monitoring, which is really becoming more and more popular, which I think is awesome. The quality that we're able to get live because of those, and I'll explain some of that in a second, is awesome. And yeah, so those are really kind of the two formats that I think we should probably kind of talk about is, traditional monitoring, just having a wedge on the stage and, it's fed through an auxiliary and that's how you can kind of hear what you're doing on stage, or in-ear monitoring
Yep.
as well. In most of the contexts that I'm working in now, in churches especially, I'm only really dealing with in-ear monitors. That's kind of become the standard in church world and in most worlds. Excuse me. But there is still definitely a time and a place
Yeah.
for traditional wedges.
I can jump in here and
Yep.
say that at Ted's, we do majority are live wedges.
Yep.
We do have some artists that bring their own ears and they have their packs, and I'll send it to them, and I will it'll go one of two ways. Either they'll bring their whole system, and then maybe they'll just give me some tails, and I'll patch mine and do my thing, and then they are completely taking care of their own monitoring based on some presets that they've got through their own system. That's pretty nice, and it works out good for everybody because they get exactly what they want because that's the same thing that they always get, right?
Yeah.
Or they just got their ears and their pack, and then I'll send them and then I actually have to, communicate to say, oh, what do you need and how much of it type of thing.
Yep.
But I would say probably maybe 80% of the time, it's the live wedges that be happening at Ted's.
At Ted's.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
it's a small venue.
It's a small venue. I was
so
about to
that's
say.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Small venue, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Ted's is also a listening room. And
Right.
so you need to really be able to hear the crowd and conversate with them.
Yeah.
Or converse. Conversate's not
Right.
a word, but converse with them.
Wedges are easier to hear when people aren't shammering on.
True that.
Right?
True that.
Yeah.
So, cool. Well, let's just start, I think, let's actually kind of go in reverse. Let's start with in-ears.
Let's do it.
Okay. And the reason for that is because I think they're, becoming more and more popular. And I think probably you all, if you're listening to this, you may already be using them with your band or you're curious about them. And so I just want to kind of provide an overview, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do with them.
Yeah.
So overall, here's how it works. If you're going to be using in-ears, you are getting fed an auxiliary or a bus from a console, whether it's the same console as front of house or it's the console in monitor world, like a dedicated console that's basically doing just the stuff on the stage. And so that aux is, going out of the console, it's getting mixed and going out into traditionally, typically, it's going into a transmitter system for wireless in-ears. So it hits the transmitter, mono or stereo, and then the transmitter wirelessly transmits to a pack or a receiver that the instrumentalist is wearing. Then they plug their in-ear monitors into it and plug them into their ears. Mm-hmm. In-ear monitors are awesome because they isolate you from the rest of what's going on the stage. Now, you may be thinking that sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually not. It provides hearing protection, but it also gives you a totally clean listening environment.
Yep.
To where whatever is being fed to that aux is exactly what you're hearing. And you can listen at really low volumes as well. Mm-hmm. So, people who have stood in front of wedges forever, they typically have hearing loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll share a story about that later. But yeah, so that's kind of how that's working. Sometimes though, if you don't have the luxury of wireless, because it can be really expensive, another great option that I see overlooked all the time is to just wire the aux out to a small headphone amplifier.
Yep.
And yeah, it's a wired solution. It's not necessarily as clean, but it's way cheaper.
Yeah.
I was working with a church in the Asheville area not too long ago, and they wanted to upgrade to in-ear system. And, they needed basically a tier. They needed 3 different options to get there. And so I gave them 3, and the top price, of course, was wireless.
Yeah.
And it was, about $15,000 more
right.
than the next tier down, which was just small headphone amplifiers that are being fed a stereo signal.
Yep.
And I know everybody wants to run wireless, but the minute that you make something wireless, you have to think about RF, you have to think coordination and all of that. And you can, I mean, you'll get the absolute cleanest signal just running a cable over to a headphone amp.
Yeah.
And this church was shocked. They thought because they were buying a lesser tier that they would get poor quality. And I explained to them, I'm like, that's not how this is going to work, actually.
Yeah. You lose a little bit of flexibility because you're tethered to it. But, you know, a lot of them comes with little clips. You can still clip the box to your belt or your pants, and then you're in the same position. You just have to remember that you do have a cable coming from it. But if you're a guitar player or something, you probably have one of those coming anyway, right? Yeah, so drummers, no problem. They're sitting still.
Yeah,
right?
They're sitting still.
Yeah.
Whatever. So that's how it works. Whether you're going wireless or you're going wired to some kind of headphone amplifier, it's the same general process. Now, there's a lot of, I've heard and seen a lot of debate on like the number of drivers and should I get customs and or whatever. And I want to just clarify this right here and now. I'm going to tell you straight up. For stage use, I don't see a reason to go over 3 drivers. Yeah. I'm calling it what it is. I just don't think, unless you're a true professional level musician and you need like perfect sound replication in your monitors and you have a monitor engineer that is sending you an excellent mix. Like there's no reason to get these 18 driver customs. They're going to run you $3,000+ or whatever. Now, those have a purpose, a time and a place. They're great reference monitors for like a mastering engineer, but I just want to say like there are great products out there, but I am not gonna recommend that somebody get more than like 3 drivers for their first pair, especially of in-ears. There's no reason.
Right.
The custom mold thing too is actually a hot button topic because everyone thinks that they're better, and I can't really figure out where that came from.
I know people that swear by that for sure. They're saying, it made a big difference when I got my custom molds, which, I mean, technically, I guess it makes sense because it fits the lining of your ear better, right? So it keeps more of the stage sound out at the very least.
Yeah,
right?
Theoretically,
right.
Now, the reason that I say that may not be entirely true, though, as far as like, is it actually better, is because I would love to grab, like, let's just take 64 Audio as an example. I would love to make somebody some custom molds. So, like, take their A3 model or A3T or A3E model, which is a custom, and take a 3-driver model that's just their straight up, like, universal fit and have them actually A-B.
Yeah.
I've never done that before.
Right. Most people don't.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, like, I don't think the custom mold is making a big difference except for 2 scenarios. And I live in one of them, and I have customs, and they have helped a ton.
Okay. What's up?
Okay. The first one is if you have really, really big ear canals. Okay. Like if your ear canals are like really large, then you may not have a universal fit. The universal ones in size medium, small, or large may not actually fit your ear. In that case, you'll hear and see a significant improvement by going custom. The other one is the opposite side of the spectrum, and I am one of those. I have an incredibly small, like tiny little ear canal. Okay. My ears aren't that big, and like my ear canals are really tiny.
Yeah.
And so for years, like when I was just doing universal fits, I had Shure 215s and then Shure 425s. And, those were my first 2 sets. And I was always using the extra small tip, and it still kind of like hurt my ear, like because it was just not quite tiny enough.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. And so, I kind of bit the bullet and went into a set of 64 Audio A3Es. And the sound quality was significantly better compared to those Shure products that I was using. But also the fit, it was just like awesome. All of a sudden I could play a 2-hour set and like my ears wouldn't physically hurt.
Yeah, that's big time.
Yeah. So those are really the 2 reasons that I think people should be looking at customs. Is like, do universal fits not work in your ear? Right. If they do, you can probably save yourself some money. You know, and just get a universal. Now, it's not going to be as cool. You're not going to get your name on the case. Right. But you'll save a lot of money. Yeah. So
good for someone who's looking for if the price point is what's keeping you away from it, good entry point for some people.
Right. Yeah. And I really think for the money, I'm a 64 audio guy. I really do love them. Admittedly, they're the only customs I've ever owned. I've never done like Everclears or any of the other major brands or Jerry Harvey or whatever. But yeah, they can make a big difference. They can.
Yeah.
But they're not just automatically going to sound better because they're custom molds.
Right.
So yeah.
Got to be sending a good mix to them, right?
You got to send a good mix to them. That matters. So yeah. So let's talk about, while we're living in in-ear world, let's talk about what a good mix is. A good in-ear mix.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So I always like to, when I'm training people, especially in churches who have never done in-ears before ever, what I always point to is, what are you doing when you're mixing? I mean, this is a common theme for me. Talked about it the last several episodes. It's like, what are you doing? Volume.
Volume.
Yeah. Volume.
Yes.
You're balancing. You're creating a balanced mix. And I'll just go ahead and say, in general, like, the technology has progressed so far that your in-ear monitors actually have the capability of sounding like a studio track.
Yeah.
Like, they can be that good. And but hear me say this also, it depends on who is behind the console doing it for you. A lot of the time, these churches that I work with are like, oh yeah, we're going to go to like in-ear monitoring. And then they're upset because they're like, this sounds even worse. And I'm like, well, who's mixing?
Yeah, who's doing it? Yeah.
Like, have you invested in your people? Have you trained them how to create a good mix and what it should sound like and all that? Some general rules, though, that have helped me as I was learning how to do this and subsequently falling in love with monitors. I'm just going to blanket statement some things. Okay. First of all, in general, creating an in-ear mix is different from creating an overall mix, just because certain people are used to hearing certain things on a stage.
Yep.
And what makes a good monitor engineer a good one or a great one is when you can put yourself in the perspective of the person on stage and create a mix based off of who they are, what they're playing, and what they're used to hearing.
Yeah.
When you do that, that's when people are like, whoa, this is a great mix.
Right.
There are some tricks to that, and they almost all come down to volume. Okay? So let's just take it from the top. My go-tos, if I am roughing in mixes, getting ready real fast on a console for a show.
Yep.
From the top, drums.
Okay.
That drummer wants their drums decimating their ears.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it what it is. Like, their drums should sound massive in their ears. And frankly, that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
A lot of them really don't want a lot of vocals. They want enough vocals to kind of like know where they're going. But those drums should be like absolutely almost clipping.
Yeah.
Loud.
Yeah.
If not, hear me out, actually clipping a little.
Yeah.
Like barely. Like we don't have, like most consoles don't have an actual clipper like we would use like in the studio on drums, where you're intentionally like letting them clip a little bit but not sacrificing anything tonally. So I actually use the threshold of the console sometimes with a drum in your mix, and I clip it.
Wow.
Like just at the very top. Now, I'm not saying like I send that full volume out, like I gain stage down later, but that's kind of how I do it a lot of the time. And
Interesting.
And it works. It works. The worst thing you can do, though, the worst thing by far you can do to a drum in-ear mix is compress it. I mean,
They don't like that.
they don't like it, man. They're like, I want to feel it when I hit the drum.
Right.
And then you'll get a drummer who's overplaying. I made this mistake, even at a church that I worked at for like 2 years. The drummer actually told me, he confessed to me that his hands were hurting after he was playing. And he's like, it hasn't been this way like for, the whole time I've been playing my entire life. And I took that very seriously. I was like, why would that be happening? And then I realized, oh man, I have a bus compressor on his output. I bet he's not getting the feel he needs from these drums. So he's hitting the crap out of them.
He's hitting them harder, so he's hoping to get that.
I took that compressor off, and it wasn't doing much. I mean, it was doing like 2 decibels of reduction or something like that. I took that off, and he literally, at the end of a rehearsal, came back to me at the console and was like, this is the mix that I have been waiting for.
Nice.
Like literally.
Yeah.
So, think about that. And
That's
they're
right.
going to want to hear the bassist underneath them. They're going to want to just hear every single one of their drums, and that's just what they want. So, so moving on to bass. Speaking of bass,
Yep.
I've found a lot of the time that bassists don't actually want a lot of like low end.
They're usually feeling it from the amp.
They want to feel. And so your job also as a monitor engineer is find a way for them to feel what they're playing on the stage. Whether that's, talking to the front of house guy or whatever, or, making sure that there's a sub close to them, or if they're playing with an amp, obviously like they can feel their amp or whatever.
Right.
But, get that right. Just make sure that they can feel, and then give them a pretty balanced mix across the board, and they'll be very, very happy.
Yeah.
In my experience. I mean, I'm just telling you where I start, and then it's always different person to person.
That's right.
So, guitar players, electric guitar players, especially if you're using, guitar players, old school guitar players hate in-ears typically because they're used to their amp being right there on the stage.
Yep.
And they want to just, they want to blast the amp. It's what they're used to, and
That's right.
to them, it's the sound of their guitar. It's similar to the feel that a bassist looks for, right? So there are some ways to do that. And long story short, just make them louder than everybody else in their ears.
Yep.
You know?
And that'll fix it.
It does it.
Yeah.
It does it every time. And I hate to say it, but electric guitar players are some of the most prone to hearing loss.
Yeah.
You would think drummers, and yeah, sure, but
Yeah.
electric guitar players, because even with in-ears, they're so used to the pressure of sitting in front of an amp that they just blast their pack, wide open. And it's like, man,
They have a hard time.
They have a hard time. So that would actually be kind of a challenge, is like if you're an electric guitar player, I would challenge you to practice using your in-ears, like practice modeling plugged in, to a set of in-ears, and do it lower than you think you need so that you can get accustomed to how that feels.
Yep.
And really you'll get accustomed to not only how it feels, but you'll really start to learn some things about tonally what your sound actually is. Without a ton of SPL, sound pressure level, behind it.
Right.
And it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So,
I can imagine so.
Yep. On bass, pretty much on all of these except for drums going forward. So bass and guitar, and then keys and vocals. Typically, I am doing a little bit of bus compression. The only one I don't do it on typically is drums. Sometimes bass too. If the bassist like really wants to like have the feel of the drums, like if they're behind a cage or whatever, then sometimes I won't do bus compression on that one either.
On that one too, yeah. Makes sense.
Keys, it's the same kind of deal. A keys player will always ask for more every time.
Yep.
Especially in a full band context. You just got to give them a lot of them. And compression can be your friend there. But similarly, make sure you have your ratios set right, because if you don't, like, and your attack threshold and all of it. I mean, attack and release, because otherwise they're going to be like doing this, and it's like, why don't I feel?
Yeah,
like what's going on
here? Yeah.
So, I mean, all the principles of like good mixing still apply.
Right.
But in general, that's it. Don't give them too much electric guitars because they are typically occupying similar frequencies.
Right.
So, vocals, and I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit here, because vocals, in an ideal world, I'm setting up two different versions of vocals.
Okay. I'm
setting up like a fully processed vocal bus, essentially, that is dynamic, especially if I'm doing it from like front of house, where like, if I adjust like one being louder than the other, like pan 'em or whatever, it's all happening in the same bus.
Okay.
But if it's happening in the bus, but that's the bus that I send to all of the instrumentalists. I don't send that bus to the vocalists themselves. The vocalists get basically their unprocessed vocal plus reverb. And the reason that I do that,
Separate.
the reason I do that is because when a vocalist has in-ears in, it can be very disconcerting. It can be really confusing for them because they're used to hearing their voice in their own head and in their ears, and all of a sudden, like, that's gone away. It's similar to like if you plug your ears and talk.
Yeah.
You still have all of that natural sound happening, which is a lot of low end and some low mid. So in their ears, they don't need all of that low end and low mid.
Right.
They need like higher end information typically. And so yeah, if I have the ability to like double patch, I'll patch them into another channel and I will roll their low end completely off because they already have all of that, and I'll just give them high end.
Nice.
And they tend to be very happy with that.
Okay.
If I have if you compress vocalists too much in what you're sending them, they have no idea how loud or soft they're singing.
Yeah.
Most of the time, unless they're like really trained and they've done this a ton. So they'll oversing, and you can hear them push. If you hear them push, it means that they can't hear themselves very well.
Right.
And or you've compressed them like way too much.
Right.
Aside from that, I give them, a band mix, but like a low band mix. I give them enough to hear some tonality, and that's just about tonality and rhythm. And that's just about it.
Yeah.
If you give them too many electric guitars, just as one example, again, they're occupying that same frequency range, that mid range with their voice. And so if you give them too much, they're constantly going to feel like they're having to scream above the guitars.
Yeah.
If you solo into a vocal mix, you'll feel like this is way too much vocal, like a good
Seems
vocal
like
mix.
it, yeah.
But it's not.
Right.
It's not for them.
Right.
So those are kind of my go-tos, I would say, of like how I typically start. Panning also really matters.
Panning helps a lot with the in-ears. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everything's kind of got to have its place. And if it does, great. And if it doesn't, they're going to feel like they're singing into a box.
Right. Something's wrong.
Part of being a good monitor engineer is learning. It's like learning to translate what you're being told by the artist.
Yeah.
One of them is I feel like I'm, shouting into like a black box, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that means it's really dry and they want more reverb typically.
Right.
There's so many different versions of that to consider, but those are the basics of it. And then during a show, if you're a monitor engineer, you're constantly like, you should be making changes. You should be mixing just like you're mixing anything else. And you should have your console set up in a way to where everything is at your fingertips and things are like when you make an adjustment, it's adjusting in the right places, in the right auxiliaries, and not in the others.
Exactly.
And making sure you have like your routing set up to do that correctly.
That's a good question or a good point, I guess. And I sometimes get this from people in the audience, patrons at Live at Ted's at the venue, is like, once like you guys did sound check beforehand, right? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. They're like, so now do you do anything when you're out here like during the show, or have you already done it and you're just sitting out here making sure that nothing goes wrong? It's like, well, part of it is making sure nothing goes wrong for sure, but but no, I'm constantly making changes to based on the song that's happening right now, right? Yeah. And so, then how does that lead into, it's like, well, monitoring, is it the same type of thing?
It is.
Like it should be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You should always be mixing dynamically, no matter what your position is.
Yeah.
I mean, static mixing is not it. Just standing there and just, always be responsive to what's happening on stage.
Right. Makes for a better show.
It really does.
For sure.
It makes for an excellent mix.
Yeah. So you're giving a dynamic mix from the front of house, but you're also giving one from the monitor world as well.
Yes, you are.
And so are there different members of the band that, I mean, you've talked about what they need differently, right? Are there ones that you think maybe need more attention throughout the show than others, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah,
maybe a reoccurring type of pattern you see?
Yeah. I would say for the most part, I find that you should be mostly like dynamic with vocals in particular.
So you need to be watching them and make sure what's going on. Yeah.
I mean, really, you need to be watching everybody.
Well, of course, but you need to be, honing in.
And the reason I say that is because the vocalists don't necessarily typically all eyes are on them, right?
Yeah.
So like you need to be able to like pick up cues, subtle cues sometimes of changes that they need. And they don't always have the luxury of like waving you down and being like,
yeah, turn it up, turn it down. Yeah.
All of that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to I think really focus on those, because if a drummer's like needs more kick, he's just going to be like,
yeah, Right.
kick.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I tend to keep my eyes on the vocalists primarily, but I'm open to everything. I mean, if you do a really good sound check, at least in my experience, I'll speak for myself. If I get a really good sound check in and do it the right way and go through the process
Yeah.
and take my time with it, the result is during a show, I rarely get anybody waving me down asking for changes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
The sound check is crucial.
totally is.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm soloed in. I've got my ears in. I'm listening through every channel. I'm kind of like cycling through and making small tweaks and adjustments, as I go through
Nice.
the whole show.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm
That's
never
good.
just standing there.
Can you, I don't know exactly from your consoles and all that experience, but and maybe this is just a little novice because I don't do monitors that often, but can you listen to each one of the monitor mixes the same way that they are listening to it?
Mm-hmm.
So you can be like, hey, let's see what it sounds like in the vocalist ears
Yep.
right now.
Yep,
Okay,
that's
I
it.
figured that you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
But, yeah, I'm out there and I don't have that capability without headphones or anything like that. So yeah, that's good though. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I mean there are even a lot of the time what I'm doing is on bigger shows, instead of just plugging straight into the console, and like relying on whatever headphone amplifier they have in there to like reproduce the sound, a lot of the time I'll just set up another like wireless channel or whatever, and I'll wear the same exact pack that they're wearing because that can color the sound a little bit too. So I'll wear the same pack and I'll route my solo, like my PAFL solo.
Yep.
I'll route that to, like when I hit solo, it doesn't go to the headphone amp on the actual console. It goes out to that transmitter that transmits just to me.
Nice. So you can literally just
So I
cycle
can-
through.
Yep, cycle through, and I'm listening to the exact setup that they have.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
It can make a huge difference for sure. So.
Because if you're like, I don't know what they're talking about, then you can get in there and be like,
Solo in and be like, oh, that's what they're talking
about. Yeah.
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 Totally.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean that's in your world. Let's talk wedges.
Yeah.
Cool.
Totally.
So wedges are tough.
Wedges are tough. I definitely have more experience in the wedge world, for better or for worse. But they're, I think it comes down to the sound check a lot. Like if you can have a proper sound check with the wedges, it can go a long way.
Yeah.
You probably will still be doing a little bit of tweaking along the way, but a lot of the times I feel like if you can get a good solid sound check, they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'll always check. We do set breaks, so I'll always check like in the middle, like, hey, how's it going for you? You hear everything okay? And like that's their opportunity. Like, and I know if they tell me something at that point, it's usually a very minor thing.
Yeah.
Because they didn't like say, hey man, can you do this in the middle of the show, or like try to get my attention. They've waited to the sound check or the set break to ask for a little tweak because it really wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
the sound check makes a big difference.
It does.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've started encountering on different shows with people who are like newer engineers is that it's weird, they don't have experience with wedges. They've only got experience with in-ears because it's like what a ton of people are using now. And so the biggest thing, maybe you're in that boat, dear listener, the biggest thing that I want you to walk away from this with is if you're doing wedges, you are putting in a wide open speaker on a stage facing a bunch of microphones.
Yeah. Here we go.
You have got to ring the wedges out.
Yeah.
With in-ears, you don't have to like adjust anything at all. You just plug and play, right? But an open, untuned wedge is a nightmare.
Oh God.
You will get feedback immediately.
Yeah.
And then the artist is going to be unhappy. Whoever hired you is going to be unhappy.
Yep. You're going to be unhappy. The audience is going to be. Everyone's.
Yeah. Everyone will hate you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Whether
really.
they know it's you or not. Some of them will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They will be unhappy. So what do I mean by ringing out? Let's just talk about that. Before anyone gets there, it is your job to plug that monitor in, send the vocal to it, leave it wide open, and intentionally feedback. And then find that frequency and cut it.
Right.
and do that several times. There's a lot of nuance to this. It's a little bit more complicated, but in general, if you're trying to do this real quick and dirty, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Set your vocal microphone gain to the volume that it needs to be at, or to the level that it needs to be at, and then go on stage with it and talk in front of that wedge.
Talk, sing.
It's never been a better time to do this because you can just stand there with an iPad and, throw a graphic equalizer on it or whatever and like ring it out, find those frequencies that are sticking out. It's typically going to be in those high mids. And yeah, ring it out because then you can put more volume in. You won't have to worry about feedback and you're good to go.
Exactly.
I don't care what size environment you're in, you have got to ring your wedges out.
Absolutely.
You just have to do it.
Yep.
I'm going to share one story where I learned this or learned something about this, not like how to do it, but a big thing for me. And so I was hired to mix a hip hop festival, the first one I'd ever done. Literally, this was the very first one. And so I get there and, they have a whole lineup. I'm basically going to mix 7 of these guys. And then the headliner, the final guy, was Nelly.
Yeah.
And so I'm out there and I'd never done hip hop before. So I go out there and I do what I normally do and I just ring these wedges out, and it's like a lot of, this was like a massive, huge festival up in Milwaukee and, huge, there's a thrust out on the front of the stage and there's like 24 wedges out there and there's like 20 plus wedges on the actual stage itself, plus like side fills, on the stage, plus a DJ booth. Like the whole 9 yards.
Massive, yeah.
Massive. So I'm ringing these monitors out, and ring them out the way I would do it at the level I would do it. And so, I think like, cool, we're good to go. And fortunately, Nelly's engineer showed up for soundcheck without Nelly. This guy's name was Blue. Blue, if you're listening, awesome. You helped me out a ton this day. But he was like, did you ring these out already? I was like, yeah, I did. And he's like, okay, cool. And he's like, would you mind if I did it with you? Like, I'd love to redo it and just like make sure that it's good to go. Basically, what I learned is like in hip hop, and he said this one phrase to me in hip hop. So he goes out and he puts things at the levels he would put them at, and immediately there was feedback because he took the microphone and he literally put it into the wedge.
Points it at the speaker.
Like a foot away from the wedge. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, of course it's going to feedback or whatever.
Yeah.
And he came back and he was nice as can be, but he said, look, I've worked in this genre for 25 years and he's like, there's just one thing that you need to know if you want to keep working in this genre. And he said this to me. He said, all of these old school gangbangers are deaf. They cannot hear anything.
Yeah.
And it is like a point of pride for them. Like they want to, the way they're going to check to see if you did a good job is take the microphone and put it a foot away from the wedge.
That's crazy.
And it needs to be at like 100 decibels.
Jesus.
So I was like, well, what do we do, man? And he
Yeah.
taught me that in that genre specifically, it is a volume game. And what that means is you don't worry about tonality coming through those wedges. It's volume.
It's got to be loud.
So, man, my graphic EQs were nowhere close to what I would have done on my own.
Yeah.
For that show after he helped me out, and zero feedback the whole show, and that stage volume was 107.
That's wild.
Like, crazy stuff. So that's not ideal.
No.
That's not normally how you're doing it, but there are some things that you have to think about, like, okay, do I need it to be at this volume? Your job, a lot of the time, you can't say no. It's like, hey, listen, this is the volume that our client wants it at. We're going to have these wide open wedges, like, figure out how to make it work.
Right,
so if that means take your graphic EQ and like, and just do it,
do what you
then
gotta
do
do.
it,
Yeah.
And anyway, so
That's wild.
ideally you're doing like broad brush strokes on these
Right.
wedges, getting them just like not ringing back, get rid of the feedback.
Trying to keep as much tone in as you can without it feeding back pretty much.
That's the way you should be doing it.
Right. And trying to get as much volume as possible because they're going to ask for something.
They will.
They will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the event that you wind up on a big old show with a huge amount of just wide open monitors,
Yep.
that's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
That's wild.
And the crazy thing is they, every single person in that lineup, they were all old school, like Dirty South rappers. They all, one of those wedges blasting, but they also all wore in-ears.
Yeah.
So it was a hybrid setup.
I was hoping we would get to that because that does happen.
Yep,
They
it does.
use both.
Yep.
Mhm.
And when you're doing both, the thing that I always think about is what do they want from their feet and what do they want to hear,
Right.
right?
Right.
The feet is typically feel, and that's why people do it. Sometimes you have people who, pull one ear out, which I want to live there for a second, but they'll pull one ear out and they need to still be able to hear
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the advantage with in-ears, aside from all the other things we mentioned, is like you can send a click track through the in-ears as well.
Yeah.
So the whole band can be synced up, to a metronome, as we've talked about before in previous episodes. And, that can be really great. Though, hear me out. No one, if you're using in-ears, please just leave them both in or take them both out. Never just do one at a time, because there's a lot of science behind this, but basically you're going to give yourself hearing damage. Okay. Your ears work as a pair, and basically like when this ear is exposed to like the elements out here, it's not perceiving that it's like being hit as loudly with your other ear. So you're going to turn it up to match the volume around you, and you're going to be killing this ear and you won't even realize it.
Right.
And I see people all the time, like they hang it down like it's a cool little necklace on stage or whatever. And I'm like, man, that is a one-way ticket to hearing loss.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. One-way ticket. So anyway, just felt like we couldn't move on without talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do
it's a
that.
big one.
Don't do that.
It is a big one. But
That's right.
I'd say, man, those are the main things. Same thing with wedges, or same thing with in-ears applies to wedges, I think, where you just need to think about like what can they hear and what can't they hear.
Right.
A lot of that when it comes to wedges is placement on the stage.
Yeah.
If they're standing right next to the drum kit, they can probably hear the drum kit.
Yeah. They don't need more drum
They don't
kit.
need drums.
Yeah. 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 Put yourself in their shoes, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Put yourself in their shoes and figure out, if I'm standing right there, what can I hear a lot of? What can I hear a little of?
Right.
Yep.
One thing to think about, to maybe consider doing, is that I think with in-ears makes a big difference, is don't forget about maybe adding a crowd mic up near the front of the stage or something like that, so that the band is not just like shut off in this world on their own. And if someone were to say something to them, they could hear what's going on. Yeah.
100%, man. I'm glad you said that, because that is the secret sauce to great in-ear mixes.
Yeah.
Is awesome crowd microphone.
Put a little crowd
and placement of said crowd microphones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. Where do you like to put them in the ideal scenario?
Sure. So it's actually pretty simple to me. Just point your crowd microphones at the crowd.
At the crowd. Yeah.
I see people put crowd mics in wild places.
Yeah.
And they're like, up at front of house, pointed down, like away from people. I'm like, what do you know?
Yeah,
like,
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, put them like on the front of the stage, or ideally like tuck them up behind the PA, so they're not hearing the PA and they can just hear the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like indoors, I think ideal placement is like roughly 15 feet off of the floor.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if I can, I want some at the front, again, kind of tucked behind the PA, and I want some in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
Again, like pointing at the actual crowd.
Yeah. That's
and it's better to have, you need them in stereo.
Mm-hmm.
You need at least one stereo pair, but the cool thing about having more than two, like say having 4 or even 6, is that, if you have somebody standing right in front of one and they're like shouting and they're tone deaf or whatever, you can just be like, we're not going to use those this time.
Yep, take that out. Yep.
And yoinked right out of the mix.
They're singing way out there.
Way out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did this for a while. I don't do it anymore just because the groups that I'm working with now, I can request crowd mics typically, and I know they're going to have them. But I used to travel with just a backup set. They were nothing. They were like Rode NT5s, and they weren't even like shotgun. But they were just if I need crowd mics and I have nothing else, they're these little pencil microphones, and they'll work.
Yeah,
they'll get the job done.
Yeah,
better than nothing.
That's right. Yeah, I use a little pencil mic at Ted's, and it does the trick.
Sure does, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sure does. So,
yeah, definitely a cool thing to have. It'll help bring the band in the moment with the audience, and that's always a good thing. Another thing that's kind of a cool little trick that I've seen over the past several years that at some point, I don't know. I think I saw it at one point. I was like, "What is that for?" I don't feel like I've seen anybody singing into that microphone. That's really weird. And why is it on the back of the stage, kind of pointed at the crowd?
Yep, that would do it.
And then I finally realized what it was, and then had some people at Ted's do it as well, and they put a vocal mic in the back so that they can talk to each other in their ears.
Talkback mic.
Talkback mic without talking to the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool thing, you know? Because imagine if you have something if you're on the opposite side of the stage as the other guitar player and you have something you need to tell them in between songs, if you try to say something with your ears on, you're going to probably be yelling and then everyone can hear you.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
So they just walk back and they say it in that little microphone and everyone can hear them.
Yeah. I would say at this point, every single band that I work with has multiple talkbacks across the stage.
Yeah.
I have a talkback at Monitor World. If I'm at front of house, I have a talkback. I mean, everyone's communicating with each other.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool to have that capability.
It's nice.
Yeah. It makes a big difference. And in fact, there's a really cool, I know Radial makes one. It's called the Hot Shot. But you can, the vocalist can run into this, and basically it's like a pass through where it's a switch. And if they're not hitting the switch, it's going to one channel. And if it's hitting the switch, it goes to a second channel. So you can actually have talkback at your foot. Or whatever.
That's nice. So you don't have to move to a new microphone. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I had one, actually. I discovered them when I was working as a worship pastor at a church here in Wilmington. And I was playing drums more and more with them. And I still needed to MD, music direct, into the in-ears and call what we're going to do next, another chorus, another verse or whatever, while playing drums. And so I had... I had it set up right next to my hi-hat, and I would literally just hit it with my heel like this.
Oh,
nice. Kind of go sideways when I needed to talk to the band, and just had the mic living right here.
Nice.
And people were kind of confused at first when I started doing it from the congregation perspective, because they're like, "What are you gonna do a Phil Collins?"
I'm not
singing. I'm like, I'm not singing. I'm
just talking.
I'm just doing some directing every once in a while.
I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear anything happening.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That would be the point.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, man. I mean, hopefully I know it's a lot, but hopefully that's kind of a good overview of Monitor World and how it works. I think the last thing that I want to talk about, just as an awareness thing, is there's two different ways to set up a monitoring console. And one of them, which is kind of the ideal way, is basically running through a split so that the monitor console has dedicated gain control over the incoming channels, and front of house has dedicated gain controls.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going through a traditional two-way, sometimes even three-way if you're also sending to broadcast split. Now, that is kind of a luxury. You won't get that unless you're working on high-level shows where they have the budget for something like that, because that's expensive. I mean, that's just a lot of cabling. And,
we don't have that at Ted's.
Yes.
But also don't have another person to run the other thing. So,
So whatever.
Yeah.
So, more commonly, it's gain sharing is the other way to do it. And if you're gain sharing, you can totally make that work and it's fine. But you need to communicate with your front of house person and be like, hey, if you make a change to the gain level, please let me know.
Right, because it's going to change.
Because it'll change everything that I'm doing,
That's right.
Consoles, a lot of professional level consoles have compensated for this with gain tracking. So basically, once you have everything totally set, you can turn on gain tracking and it will compensate with trim.
Interesting.
So if at front of house, if you start the show, turn on gain tracking. If at front of house, they back the gain down 5 decibels or whatever, on your console it will trim up 5 decibels.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty sweet.
That's dope. Yeah.
Yeah. Digico consoles have that. Most Allen and Heath consoles have that. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that is super cool. Because we all know when the show gets going, people get more energetic over the sound check, and things get a little bit louder.
Yes.
And so you usually are tweaking for a little bit.
Yeah. Pro tip right here, gain your vocals lower than you think during sound check.
Yep.
They are saving it back, whether they even realize it or not.
That's right. You can tell them, hey, sing it like, you're at Madison Square Gardens, and they still won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
If I go up to a mic for sound check, I tell the engineer typically, I'll be like, hey, look, man, I get it. I'm going to give you 100% during the sound check. You can set my gain to this.
Yeah.
And they're always like, sweet.
Nice.
They're like, yeah, all right, let's do it.
Good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool. Cool.
And guitar players, stop gaining your amp up
Yeah.
once the show starts. You're not helping anybody. It literally doesn't make you louder. It just makes you sound worse.
That's right.
And we're just going to turn your gain down.
Yeah, you need to just leave it alone.
Yeah, let it be, man.
And your bandmates are probably going to be upset when they
Yeah.
see you reach back and creep that volume knob up.
Yep. Do you want to sound great? Just stick with what you did during sound check.
Yeah.
Like, don't do anything else, please.
Mhm,
So, I've done it too. I get it.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, well,
Think that's a wrap?
I think that's a wrap, man. That's Monitor 101.
Monitor 101.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of Audiopath Podcast. Hope you guys learned something today about live monitoring, in-ears, and wedges as well. Thank you, John, for sharing some wisdom on that topic.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, it's been a good one.
It has been a good one. What are you working on, Trent?
Yeah, let's see. I'm still working on the Jim Ellis New Orleans style EP. That one is coming along well. We're pretty much done with it at this point. So it should be out before too long. It's been a fun one. I'm excited about that. And then the other kind of the two guitar players, I don't know exactly what to call it exactly yet, but the kind of bluesy, they do have a little newer, the beatbox, with Randy and David. That's making its way out there as well. It's we're about done with it. So about to wrap up some things.
Sweet,
which is
man.
good. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. How about yourself? What you into?
Yeah, I've got a couple different like training things going on this week. Going over to a church in outside of Winston-Salem.
Nice.
And I'm going to be basically teaching them how to use a system that they just got installed by Church Interiors Audiovisual, which is a company based out there that I work with.
Nice.
So going in there, doing a little training session with them. And then I've got another that's like a one-day thing. And I've got kind of my more traditional like consultation training style is, especially for churches, I'll go in and do a whole weekend. So I've got one of those coming up, which will be cool. That'll be like a whole Saturday of like getting in there, going through their whole system, making sure everything's optimized with their volunteers, and then also training their volunteers kind of as part of that. And then doing a whole Sunday morning, mixing for them, and then doing like a follow-up after the service of
Cool.
like, have any questions based on what you heard and what you saw and all that kind of stuff.
That's great.
Basically just kind of, give a volunteer an opportunity to be in the room with a pro and just kind of, glean whatever they can from the whole process. And yeah, that'll pretty much be it. That's one of my favorite things to do. Actually, I love doing that kind of stuff.
That is fun. Very cool, man.
Yeah, man.
Very cool.
So it should be a good week.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Like and subscribe if you will. Check us out at audiopathpodcast.com. If you're into a little extra support for us, we'd love to have you as a Patreon member or a YouTube channel member. We've got some kind of exclusive things that we provide to those memberships. So if you're into what you've heard or seen today and you'd like to keep up with us and support us a little bit, then check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But
Well, Trent, as we say around here, until next time,
steady the path.
steady the path.